Welcome to the Marketing Boost Solutions Podcast. Join host Marco Torres, along with expert guests, as they deliver incredible, proven solutions to your marketing challenges in each power-packed episode.
Welcome to the Marketing Boost Solutions Podcast, where we bring you game-changing strategies to boost your business and scale you to new heights. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce to you a guest whose unique approach to telemarketing and employee motivation is making waves in the industry. Joining us is Mr. Richard Blank, CEO of Costa Rica's call center, a dynamic leader who has actually trained over 10,000 bilingual telemarketers with a powerful blend of motivational public speaking and strategic communication techniques. So welcome, Richard Blank, to the show. Richard, say hello.
What's up, everybody? So happy to be with you and your audience today.
Awesome. I'm glad you're here, Richard. We've got a lot of people that probably need telemarketing services to support their team. I've been in the telemarketing business since 1993, I think it's been. So hopefully you can educate me some more as well on how we can improve our own call center operations. So Richard, you have a call center in Costa Rica and you call it Costa Rica's call center. That sounds like you put a whole lot of deep thought into that. I'd like to know how and why you call it the Costa Rica call center. I love it.
Well, everyone needs to pass kindergarten with flying colors. And so I figured the easiest thing to do is make it memorable. Just put it in apostrophe S. It's great for SEO purposes and almost speaks itself. And come February 6th, my friend, we'll be celebrating our 18th year in business. I can't believe I made it so long, but hopefully we can shatter some misconceptions in regards to telemarketing and call centers, things that Hollywood glamorized and put, I guess, a sour taste in people's mouths. There's a lot of companies out there, Marco, that use telemarketing to retain a client, to prospect. You know, it reduces the sort of attrition.
Yeah, people, as a consumer, you think telemarketing and it's like a bad word, right? But as a business owner, you need customer support. You know, the bigger you grow, you need staff and you need call center staff, chat support staff. You need, AI can't do it all for you. So you're going to need, and then maybe you need outbound telemarketing for lead generation, follow-up, booking appointments, so on and so forth. So Richard,
Correct.
tell us about your journey. So again, if you're a business owner here listening to the Marketing Boost Solutions podcast, then guess what? If you're a serious business owner, eventually you're going to need, if you don't already have, you're going to need virtual assistants. And you're going to need that to eventually turn into customer support, call support, chat support. And that's what we're here talking about. How do you build a call center support team? Do you do it yourself? Do you outsource it? Do you need bilingual staff? Et cetera. And that's where Richard here has become an expert. What took you to Costa Rica to get started? How did that ever even enter your mind? I'm going to go to Costa Rica age 27 and end up doing 18 years in business like you're at now. How'd you do that?
Well, back in August of 2000, I was in between jobs and sending out my resume via a fax machine. Sounds how old it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, a good friend of mine from college said, Richie, come to Costa Rica for a couple months and teach English at a friend's call center and just take a time out. So I did, and I decided to stay. What's interesting is I learned the business from the inside out, not at sea level, learned all departments, but it's amazing what people can do on the phone. AI can gather for you, and they can make it interesting and get the information. But the empathy part, the retention, the real relationship building and that transfer of energy, it's done between people. And so in my mind, yes, some departments will be replaced and efficiency will be improved. But if you're making outbound prospecting phone calls, to me, it's much better than just omni-channel non-voice like a text, email, or chat. It's a painting over a print. Really, it's not microwaved. It's really a home cooked meal. And so it's the reverse. When people years ago used to think the email and the chat was the new thing, and I agree with that. It's convenient, but it can also be latent and misinterpreted. And so if you're making a phone call, you're really putting your best foot forward. You can pick up these certain tell signs. You can anchor better. And you can compliment Judy, who picks up the phone before transferring me to you. So I can give positive escalations verbally in writing and really separate myself from other people trying to earn your business. We show really good faith prior to any sort of contracts. And so you're taking a lot of that essence and cleverness, right? And finesse away from this interpersonal communication or even conflict management if people are not receptive. And so look at it as an art. Don't be lazy. If somebody wants to outsource, it's because they're overwhelmed, or let's just say hypothetically, they're having a tough time finding people because they might see telemarketing as a transitional job or lower than, or maybe what you're offering is not that great. I mean, I
Well,
don't choose
that's
everything
one
that
of the
comes in.
yeah, that's one of the challenges of having a call center that's US based, I think, is that
Yes.
the staff that come in look that are accepting the telemarketing position, call center support, customer support, however you want to refer to it. I know that the
Hmm.
telemarketing in itself, it has the connotation here in the United States. But that alone means that people come in and they're looking at it as a transitional job opportunity versus other countries. I know I have a big call center in the Philippines, I've had for years, and it's a career in the Philippines. It's a well-paying job and not something people, I mean, they're looking to make this a lifelong career, and they're earning, respectable income in their countries. How does that, how does this, what's the scenario in Costa Rica as far as the staffing and recruiting and what have you with the type of position?
That's an excellent point. First, I want to mention anybody that can get an ROI on their education is great. Someone that speaks multiple languages bears the mark of higher education, shows structure, discipline, and advanced cognitive skills. But let me ask you another question. How many jobs do you have or a career or what you do at work? You could use these soft skills outside of the office. A lot of the jobs is just plug and play there, and you can't really use it anywhere else. And so here you're learning how to speak with people. You do engagement, active listening, note taking. These are the sort of skills people aren't doing today when they're looking at their phones and I guess looking up information to make it easier for them. And so what's our labor pool like? Well, we're close to the United States, mountain time zone, couple hours flight from Miami. We're the only democratic society in Central America, so there's a lot of outside investments such as Amazon, HP, Intel, and Oracle. No standing army. That money got put back into education. There's a 95% literacy rate. And this is quite interesting. They claim that Costa Ricans have the most neutral of English accents, kind of like people from Iowa in the United States can't tell where they're from. And but the labor pool's good. Could it be bigger? Of course, but people are snatching them up. So I have to compete. And there's a lot of things that I do differently than the Goliaths that have tens of thousands of agents with my 150, that I can still retain the best and still last this long. You can be very selective when you're bringing people in compared to just cattle calling and accepting the maximum of minimum. You have to be very selective because people can be a cancer, a jumper, or just, rocking the boat and they have terrible habits. I'd
Mhm.
rather have an 18-year-old freshman wet behind the ears, but speaks beautiful English, but no experience. Why? Because Marco and I can mold them like a squire to a knight. Come
Right.
on.
Now,
This
let
is a
me
little
ask you this.
freshman.
You bet. Let me ask you this question. I mean, the probably the Philippines is one of the most popular areas of call center support. Uh,
Sure.
you've got all the major banks, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, all have huge call centers in Manila and what have you. Then you have Indian support for tech, for IT support, from banks and companies all over the country. Where did, for bilingual recently, Colombia has been very popular getting virtual assistants and call center staff.
Right.
Where does Costa Rica fall in the hierarchy of support for different companies? And why would, I mean, you mentioned already a few good reasons, as in their English, and yet I'm not even that familiar with looking into the Costa Rican market to outsource. Tell us about why Costa Rica is the place to be.
Well, in a couple of years, Spanish will be the most spoken language in the United States. So unless someone's trilingual out in the Philippines and India, it'll be impossible for them to speak in their native tongue. So that gives me an advantage. Sure, they're a couple dollars cheaper, but if I can offset that with these specific language skills, the new market, or even merit, where if what we do is so good, I can 1.5 it, I can make up that rate compared to their 1 an hour. And so there's certain things that have to be realistic. If it's inbound support and it's a 5 minute talk time, 1 minute wrap up, come on, I can only take 10 calls an hour. I can't do 20 because of the price. But if it's
Right.
outbound prospecting, then fair game. I can easily triple somebody's numbers and show our value and worth. But no, the Philippines, they speak beautiful English. One of the feedbacks that I get from them is that since they are a different culture, they're in the East, highly intelligent, beautiful people, but they maybe not know what the shore is or cheese fries, who Randall Cunningham was for the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, come on, give me a break. And then
Right.
in India, unfortunately, because they're extremely talented and brilliant and the largest labor pool, but I guess people use that accent as a stigma, or just saying it's taking away our jobs, or they need a fall guy, they need someone to kick. And so if anybody can earn the business and give you a return on your money and quality service, anybody should earn the account. Especially today where people can work virtually. But no, I guess every country has their bad and good players, but India has that accent which people
Yeah, no, and
automatically, they'll,
absolutely. And people in
they'll
this
hit you on that.
country, if you're especially if you're doing outbound, you've got to be able to relate quickly in a language and a tonality that you understand it quickly. And because in an outbound call, you're only giving anybody a few seconds of whatever they're saying, as far as your attention that you're going to give them. 5 to 10 seconds is the most powerful impact of it before you decide to hang up or not. And so
That's right.
if on top of whatever they're saying, there's a accent that's difficult to understand, or even just immediately registers with you that it's a probably telemarketing operation, you're clicking that hang up
Oh,
button
hold
faster than
on.
you
Let's
can.
let's
Yeah.
calm down for a second. Let me refer to one of my favorite actors, Ricardo Montalban. He had an accent, but that was the smoothest cat in town. It's like a beauty mark. I'm going to say it again. Anybody that speaks a second language understands the dedicated practice and what got you there. If phonetics is your only challenge, but your grammar and vocabulary is stellar in advance, I'm going to take you. I might need to work on your phonetics and pronunciation and your vowels. But I tell you, as I mentioned before, there are people that had to train their replacements in other countries. So they might have a feeling towards that, kind of like the movie Gung Ho back in the 80s, right? When the Japanese came in to do that automotive plant. I tell you what, this is such an interesting industry that I respect the soldier. It's not easy. There's a huge burnout and a large attrition. And if
Mhm.
somebody is able to retain a client and do good work and good business, and as you say, make it a career, all hats off to them. I really respect the craft. And so I have nothing bad to say about somebody, just about bad actors that put a bad
Right.
taste in people's mouths.
Well, we all need sales, and sales happens only when somebody's talking to somebody. So you need support to get that done. Tell us what you mean by phonetic micro expression. What do you mean by phonetic micro expression and reading? And how do you teach that?
No, you already know it. It's just becoming consciously aware of it and making it a habit. You've seen micro expression reading when people scratch or tap, or facial expressions during poker. But what about sight unseen? And so think about it like this. One of the master communicators, Helen Keller, lost her sight and hearing, so her taste, touch, and smell expanded. Us, we're the reverse. We lose our taste, touch, and smell. So our hearing should be expanded. But in regards to visual, I believe in metaphysics and image streaming. You can use your vocabulary and imagination and fantasy to paint a picture. So it still works. And so phonetically, there's 4 sections. You have your tone, rate, pitch, and duration. Your tone, as you were mentioning, your tonality, that represents your emotion. And in my professional opinion, the best tone, which should be consistent, should be confident and empathetic. You should extend compassion. Now, I know you are aware of the mirror imaging technique. You should do this with the rate and the pitch. How fast are they going and how loud are they going? That can be done in any language. It could also be misinterpreted on a first-time read. That's why we do it every 30 seconds. I just want to see if you're going faster, slower, louder, or softer. If you're doing that, there's a spike or a dip. We've encouraged people to ask tie-down or clarification questions. If things make sense, sounds good, may we move forward. All right. And even if I can't hear you because of your dog or a noise or a child, I'll say for my clarification, compared to excuse me, Marco, we fall on certain swords to keep that tone positive. We don't want rabbit holes. And so I study this. It will not hold you back from typing, listening, or selling, but you can definitely bite an apple while juggling. Pay attention every 30 seconds in certain reads. What quadrant are they in? Are they spiking or are they dipping? And so people are not aware of this. Now, here's the good thing, my friend Marco. You can manipulate a tone. You can manipulate your rate and your pitch. It can easily be done. But the one thing you can't do is manipulate duration, the silence in between phonetics, because you need silence for sound. That's why phonetics is the sound, you need the silence. So I study the in-betweens. Now, here's the skinny. You can manipulate the first three, but that fourth one, if you're emotional, you're too cool and calm, I don't know how fast you're going to answer. That's why the cops always show the evidence on the third or fourth question. Really messes you up. And so you might want to run circles with me and slow roll it, but if you're going to really be lucid and in the moment, and man, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I've seen the patterns. I can do this. And so I think I've cracked a code in regards to first time reads with people. If they're spiking or dipping, or their duration, their spacing in between is more than a 4 out of 10, that's a time for you to ask a pause, a timeout. You need a checkpoint in order to move forward. I'd rather have a solid 1-minute phone call than a shaky 5. But I'll call you later compared to confirmations of either yes or no. And so it's just slicing and dicing, my friend. We're shaving time, but we're putting in more quality. It's like buildings that can stack vertically. And so I can get more out of questions by asking open-ended questions, or just asking second, third, or fourth interested questions. Not you have a dog. I love dogs. I know you love dogs. It's a Me Too anchoring technique. But then I'm going to ask what the dog's name is, what breed it is, and how old's your puppy? Come on, man.
Oh,
Who else
wow.
asks you that stuff? And so
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with stop, drop, and roll, timeouts, anchoring, 3 questions in, you remember about the dog, then you can move forward and reset. Instead of you getting huffy puffy, I can take that energy for my momentum. It's a dance, it's a game. You just can't carpet bomb these calls. If you pay attention to every single call, it's a romantic death or a sale. Either way it happens. Take
Wow.
it like that so you
Uh,
can live with yourself.
Folks, you can obviously tell the expertise here, Richard. We're going to take a minute and hear from our sponsor, Marketing Boost. Don't go away. I got some great questions for Richard coming right up.
It's time to wow, surprise, and impress your clients with the most powerful customer draw card available anywhere. The Marketing Boost Solutions Show is brought to you by Marketing Boost, where you can get valuable travel and restaurant incentives to drive your leads from prospects to paying customers. Now you can offer complimentary hotel stays in over 130 destinations worldwide. Go to marketingboostsolutions.com and try it for free right now.
Folks, you just heard from our sponsor, marketingboost.com. If you're in business and you're not yet using incentives to help wow, surprise, and delight your clients, go check out marketingboost.com. It's only $37 a month. It gives you the ability to really be able to reward your clients with amazing perks and rewards, or reward them for taking certain actions like booking a call, making an appointment, and so on. So check out marketingboost.com. And we're back here with Richard Blank talking about telemarketing strategies, how to motivate a sales team, how to train your call center sales staff to deliver success like none
Yeah.
other. And Richard here is just naming a few things. Tell us about the gamification and employee motivations that you do inside your call center.
Well, I'm not going to ask your age, young man, but my generation's Generation X. And I grew up in the 70s and 80s where the arcades were the place to be. So now that I have discretionary income, I kind of relate to Tom Hanks in the movie Big. I got money. I don't want a Rolex. I want pinball machines. I don't want air hockey tables. and as much candy as I can eat, damn it. But no, I had the room for it. And it's a great happy medium for people to let off steam, recharge batteries. Arcades are going out of business. So as long as me, Tommy, Billy, and Joey grab some cash in a truck and drive a couple hours away to Perez Zeledon, I'm bringing back a jukebox or a pinball machine. But here's the thing. They're giving them away. Sure, they don't turn on and work, but you know the value of something. You can call companies such as Marco Specialties or these other pinball replacement areas and get the parts. And so for $200, I'll buy a machine, put in another 500 to 700 bucks in replacement parts. Next thing you know, I'm sitting on a $5,000 Doctor Who machine. And
Wow.
so um, one man's trash is another man's treasure. A lot of people don't understand pinball. They do virtual pinball, or they just don't really understand the electromechanical machines or the love for it or the patience. When I grew up, asteroids could last me half an hour, but a pinball machine could last 3 seconds. That's a lot of money, and some games were 50 cents. And so, no, it was out of reach. It was too much. But when I was down here and I figured I could get one, figured I can get three. Hey, I got room for five. I can bring some home now. I got nine. Next thing you know, I got 13. So it just doesn't stop. If I can find one on the Facebook Marketplace or through my contacts that work at the smaller arcades that do the children's games and the tokens, they hear things, and next thing you know, they're buying a machine. But why not, right? Why be so
That sounds like a
serious?
great idea and lighten up the culture of the call center and take breaks and
Yeah.
let your mind go on a pinball machine with all the lights and all the activity and so on. Not a
You ever
bad
hear someone laugh at work? No one laughs at work unless someone fails. You see a
right.
different side of someone. I tell you what, here's the real tell side. I get the little taps on the arm in the morning going, "Hey, Hefe, how are you?" While I'm in the game room. And so people relax, and that's a good thing.
Now, on to another question about call centers, concepts, strategies. The rhetoric and persuasion. What do you mean by the rhetoric of a call center staff?
No, it's the art of speech, rhetoric. You got to choose proper semantics. I'll give you the best example. A lot of people on the phone will say, "Hey, how may I help you?" I go, "I said may, not can." I go, "Yeah, but you use the word help. It's going to evoke someone's ego." Use the thesaurus. Change that word. Same message, different delivery. So depending on the type of phone call, if it's a beginning phone call, you use assisting. If it's in the middle, it's guiding. And when we're putting the ball in the end zone, it's lending a hand. Get that word help out of there. Assist, guide, lend a hand. It's my first example. You're
Yeah,
talking about tonality. It needs to be a floating feather and jumping clouds and happy, happy, smile, smile. Seriously. And so
mhm.
when you put in certain words there that are, in my opinion, are lazy or it doesn't have any depth. And if I close my eyes, I think of myself in quicksand and you're trying to help me out of it. I don't want that. I want you and I walking down, the yellow brick road side by side, guiding each other to Emerald City. I mean, come on, man. You got to think like a 12-year-old. You got to put, and kept talking about image streaming. If you could use words with color in it, like lending a hand, it gives you the image of you and I grabbing each other and saving the day. And so, rhetoric, timing, you can spike a word like a name. Marco, how you doing? Spike, low, slow, pause. Why? Because if you end a sentence on a high, you sound desperate. But if I go low and slow, I'm chilling, right? And my favorite is a loud whisper, kind of like El Padrino, the Godfather. Someone speaks in a loud whisper, it's a governor. You're never going to yell, but you sound great. Okay. And, there's other little tricks, I guess you could say, but it's really about keeping you balanced during the call because there's something such as a positive or a negative reinforcement. And so if I say something to you, I got to gauge your reaction to it. And so a lot of people just love to like desert pitching, where all they do is run through that desert without looking for water or an oasis. Yo, man, let Marco talk for a second. He might love A, B, and C. We got to pause on D. And um, I just want people once again just to slow down a little bit. But The rhetoric is so important when you read scripts. People, I guess, just once again refer to either Hollywood or the fact that it's almost as easy as walking across a dance floor and asking someone to dance. Next thing you know, you're married. It just doesn't happen like that. There's a lot of courting and callbacks and meeting minutes. And even if you're not transferred to the right department, are you charming enough to speak to Billy and let him know that you're trying to get in touch with Marco and thanking him for his time and for the extra efforts looking for the right department? And then when I do get transferred and you pick up, before I even introduce myself, I'm going to say, Marco, I just want to let you know that Billy was incredible. He really assisted me today. And you go, Billy, how'd you get him? He's in the mailroom. I go, I got him. When was the last time someone complimented Billy? And
Right.
so you got to think on your toes. You got to be James Bond. It won't always be your special pen that gets you out of it. You got to look around the room and see what you can grab.
You
And
know, speaking of that, what you're saying, I mean, so many people have the impression that, sales is not for me. I am not a salesperson. I hate sales. Yet you're in business for yourself and you have no idea how to sell. And yet you're talking about, strategies that have taken you 20 years to develop that you would obviously teach to your entire staff as you've trained over
right.
10,000 telemarketers. But you listen to you and you realize it's no different than being an actor on stage. You have to learn, it's all teachable. You can learn the art of singing with your voice and knowing how to deliver the words and the lines that you must memorize with your script. So you have portions of your script that are going to be memorized, and then you've got to, like you said, fill in the gaps with rhetoric and persuasion and tonality, ups and downs. And you really have honed it down to a science from what I can hear on just listening to you go through, because we've never covered it all on this podcast.
Thank you, Marco.
Oh, you're welcome. Let me ask you this question. If a small business owner out there is, ready to add some customer support, start doing some or replace his outbound telemarketing efforts with your staff, what is the procedure? What is the process? How many, where can they start? Can they start with one? Do they have to have five minimum? Is there any, what are the opportunities to work with someone like you and your staffing?
First, my company is inscribed in the United States. We follow all US business and banking laws. That gives people peace of mind. Naturally, my goal is to work with you forever, but I can't hold your feet to the fire. My contracts run monthly. I at least need 4 40-hour work weeks. To me, it's still not enough time. And my minimum agent is one. But what happens if Joey gets hit by a bus? I'm not a blended center, it's a dedicated center. I don't know how long it takes to train and onboard. My favorite for just a pilot is 3 agents for 3 months. So I have the odd man out. And secondly, it's important that you have a large enough script or a list to call. On a 5-minute talk time, you're looking for at least 4,000 unique numbers per agent per month on a monthly basis. You should look into email and voicemail templates. I can always work with you on the script, but you should just think about the basics, keeping it simple, and also simple rebuttals, stuff like that. If you don't
Coach,
have any of that stuff and you're trying to come to me with just an idea, I'm more than willing just to keep an open mind and just talk to you and see what you want to do. Let me just revert back to one thing you were saying, my friend, about rhetoric and convincing people and selling. From an educated point of view, people make a decision. If you want to call me a salesman, that's your adjective. You can say whatever you want to say. That's your observation. But for me, you could always choose not to buy or choose to buy. And so before we even got onto the podcast, you said, Richard, do you have any questions for me? I said, I have no questions. I just want to pay a compliment. I'm so happy to be here. And thank you so much for having me as a guest. I said it again when we went live, but when you're sincere with somebody, Marco, and you know this, you don't have to press, you don't have to do an angle. Chips will fall as they may. I've had a lot of people that don't want ice cream if I'm selling ice cream, but they'll recommend me one day to somebody because they love the
right.
conversation. I was so nice. And so sincerity sells. My greatest secret, and where I give the most points when I do my quality control, it's not you going through the script, getting the appointment, asking the questions. Not the introduction nor the conclusion, but the body of the call. If you, Marco, say my name, Richard, during the body of the call, it shows we anchored. So all the times you want me to sell you and be convincing and know my script, you don't need that. If someone's buying rounds and wings and having fun and smacking your back, they're your buddy.
Right.
I've had so many beautiful strangers or friends you haven't met yet. So you don't need to force a fit. Yeah, you might catch someone on a bad time, but you can snap them out of it real quick. That's why I compliment, do the positive escalation and compliment people, or I'll do a company name spike. So I'll say the name of the company better than the person that answers the phone to snap you out of it. If I have any anonymity, I'm going to use you and then I'll introduce myself. And so it's not a game. You can still live with yourself. You're not compromising ethics, values, and morals. If somebody doesn't want to make phone calls for a company, maybe A, you don't have a good product, you're not prepared giving them the resources, or it's just shady. And I'm not going to be a fall guy making gray area phone calls for you and your company. Just don't want to do that. And
Yeah.
also, it's a market where the labor pool speaks. If they have a chance to make more money or feel better about themselves somewhere else in this strict Catholic country, or by the way, Marco, I'm a guest, they're going to choose that too. So it's not like what you think. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of ingredients that go into an actual campaign to make it successful. And the one thing I never wanted to do was to compromise those ethics. Never
Mm.
wanted to do that. I turned down more business than I accept. And I could tell you stories of some of the people that have called me. I'm not going to do shady things in Boys Town. You can call another call center. And so,
Right.
um, but that's just my story, my friend. I think you can really reduce a lot of the weight that people put upon themselves if you just happen to readjust it a little bit differently. That's all.
Cool, folks. We'll be right back. We're here from another sponsor. Don't go away. We got more for Richard in just a few seconds.
Is your business on autopilot yet? Do you have automation in place to capture, nurture, and convert prospects into clients via email, SMS, ringless voicemails, appointment setting? Get all the inbound and outbound marketing tools in one place. Go to marketingboostsolutions.com for more on automating your business so you can make money while you sleep.
You just heard from automationbooster.com, folks. If you're don't have everything automated on your website, I tell you what, I've been an internet online marketer since 1996, before Google, before Facebook. I've never seen under one roof something so affordable as Automation Booster, where you can automate your email, your texting, your voicemail broadcasting, set up your sales funnels, automate everything, including the Marketing Boost incentives. We provide over 100 different templates that you can add the incentives with whatever the call to action is. Go check out automationbooster.com and look at how you can automate your business and get moving things, make money while you sleep. We're back here with Richard Blank. We're talking about how to set up your scripts, outbound telemarketing, inbound call support. What is your specialty there, Richard, in Costa Rica? Costa Rica's call center. Is it is outbound your main focus, or you handle whatever people need?
Somebody gives me a good list, I can look like a rock star. But what's my forte? Oh, goodness gracious. I guess any athlete can do offense and defense. I'll play both sides of the field. We can retain clients. We can do upsells. We can verify third-party information. It's beautiful what we can do. We can cradle those accounts for that inbound customer support.
Hmm.
Now, outbound prospecting, I love hunting. I love it. And so I like the strategy behind it. If you give me a bad list, I get angry. I'm willing to take a challenge, but it just can't be something that's 10 years old, or most of the time we're doing skip tracing, which will kill a rhythm. It's like grinding gears in a car. It's not me, it's not you, it's the agents making the calls. You don't want them to quit and feel frustrated. These are certain soldiers. But I tell you what, when you do write a beautiful script and you hear the agents using it, and they get their first appointment and you ring the bell and everyone gives high fives, there's nothing better. I tell you what, you and I are at a certain age right now where we need to pay it forward. Okay, we're both professionals and businessmen and we've done well. We can talk about that. Or we can talk about this next generation. And so if I can make somebody more confident, more self-reliant, and by doing it with skills that are more than just pressing a button or just making a widget, real good life hacking skills where you can make a ton of money, have a ton of friends, find the girl of your dreams, and have that advanced ability. Out of all my friends growing up, I was the only one that could speak Spanish. Not saying I was more intelligent, but I had a certain flag on me that no one else could do. And it really opened a lot of doors. And I realized that if you can capture certain magic in certain areas, it really does enrich your life. I had no idea where it was going to go. And, I tell you what, Marco, I wasn't smart enough to get into Harvard Law like Grandpa, Columbia Business like my pops, or Washington Lee University undergrad like my brother. I'm just a fun kid. I didn't study. So I went to the University of Arizona. I was a Spanish major. I studied passion. And if you do things outside the classroom, your dedicated practice above and beyond, don't be surprised if Daniel-san beats Johnny in the Karate Kid. I mean, if you love something and you have a spark, you win. And I love this second language. And look where it took me.
No, it's true. I similarly grew up not speaking Spanish, even though I'm Latino. My last name is Torres. But I grew
Yeah, I can
up,
see that.
I grew up in Puerto Rico where
Yeah.
it was too cool to be gringo. So I went to private schools in Puerto Rico. I was surfing with the American kids. All of the American people back in those days were the ones running all the major corporations. So the fact that I spoke English was where I wanted to be. And so speaking Spanish was not a priority until I got out of high school. I dropped out of college and decided to get into the restaurant business, and I had to start dealing with customers. Mind you, convinced my mom to open Mexican restaurants. And so here we are with Mexican restaurants in the Caribbean, and people are making fun of my Spanish because it sounded too gringo, just so much for you being Mexican. Oh my God, it was hilarious. So with the financial motivation that I finally learned to be
Yes.
fluent and in Spanish, and then from there picked up Portuguese along the way, because for another business reason, and so on. But yeah, being bilingual is been key in my life and continues to be. Richard, back to how do people get a hold of you? What's the best place to go? I'm going to share my screen again and show your website here. Costa Rica's callcenter.com. Is that correct on
That's right. They can go there and contact us. You can send me an email or send it directly to CEO at Costa Rica's callcenter.com. Or I always encourage you and your audience to buy a ticket and fly down here and see this beautiful ecotourism paradise in Central America. And you get to hang out with me for a little bit.
Absolutely good idea. Come down there, meet you, see your call center, and just talk about how you can help them build, scale, and grow their business. You can also
That's
reach
right.
Richard on LinkedIn. Look for Richard Blank on LinkedIn and reach out to him. All the links, by the way, are in the show notes below. So if you want to reach out to him, ask questions about what it takes to get some additional support in Costa Rica, reach out to Richard, and he'll have more than willing to help you, show you how you could scale and grow with
Definitely.
outsourcing services. And basically anything, guys, that you do over and over every day, uh, you or your team is doing over and over every day, you ought to be looking at that as how can you set up to outsource that? How can you set up that business process into something that can be outsourced, whether it be, you know, for cost savings or to improve the efficiency, focus on core activities, scalability, and outsourcing it's obviously what many larger companies do, and they're outsourcing either to the Philippines, Colombia, India, Costa Rica, etc.
Right.
Now you know a guy. If you watch this show today, you got your guy. You know a guy in Costa Rica.
Oops.
Oops, sorry
That's
about
right.
that.
I
You
was going to
know a
say
guy.
that's me.
Yeah, you know the guy in Costa Rica with a perfect bilingual sales team. And I have to admit, that's one of the areas that I've been meaning to talk, because we're looking at launching and upgrading everything in Marketing Boost to start offering additional languages. and I will need Spanish first
Mm,
and so as I've been for years with the call center in the Philippines, but nobody there speaks Spanish. So I'm hindered when it comes to actually providing support in Spanish. And if you're like me
exactly.
out there, anybody else in business, if you're going to have an outsourced call center, why wouldn't you want them to be bilingual while they're at it? If they have the good English and they can also handle those that happen to be Spanish speaking, which is a huge population in the United States alone, not to mention all of South America, Central America, and around the world that speak Spanish. So, Richard, you're in the right place. You picked 18 years ago, Costa Rica, and congratulations for that. Um, what other final words of wisdom would you give anybody who's attempting to come up with sales scripts, inbound or outbound? What would you guide people on how best to do that with or without outsourcing call center staff?
Well,
I mean,
writing is not the easiest thing to do, but maybe just for kicks and giggles, maybe watch certain movies like The Wolf of Wall Street and Boiler Room and Glengarry Glen Ross. I like the Prime Gig. That was interesting with Vince Vaughn and Ed
hmm,
Harris. But you might not be slinging real estate or stocks. But why don't we just slow down for a second and just see the momentum, the script writing, the onboarding? Maybe if you want, look at certain companies that you really like, that you're loyal to, and go to their website and read their homepage out loud and tell me if you like how it flows and does it give you the warm fuzzies. And so, as I'm saying, you need to be, there's certain structure you have to making phone calls. You got to do introductions, you got to ask questions, you got to confirm it, and you got to tie them in and do certain callback dates or commitments with emails and voicemails and meetings. It's just really the bridge is if people feel comfortable working with you. And so if you're capable of doing a little bit of due diligence before a podcast, a phone call, a meeting, you might find 3 or 4 things to anchor with. Or if you look at the website, you realize they don't wear ties. They wear nice button-down shirts and they have a beautiful loading dock next to a lake and the one guy's a golfer. I mean, come on. I mean, there's 1,000 things. If you Google me, you'll see my pinball machines, my Art Deco building. And if you call me up and you say, hey, Richie, before I pitch my services, I love pinball as well, and I love convertibles and Art Deco. I don't even know what you're selling, Marco, but at least you have 3 minutes. I'll give it to
right.
you if I'm not busy. And so it's beautiful on the rock anchoring so you can continue to pull yourself up. And so as long as you enjoy the flow, easier said than done, you should record yourself. And most people don't like how they sound, but this is what you got. So my suggestion for you is once again, sometimes sound a little louder than you should, speak twice as slow, use trigger words. Those should be spite. You should pause before names and numbers for emphasis. There's nothing wrong with using military alphabet so emails don't bounce back. And a lot of times people have served in the military. So there's another beautiful anchor with people. You should always incorporate that positive escalation, compliment everyone that you speak to prior to the decision maker, give them verbal and written compliments that separates you from other people. And I guess my biggest advice is the internal, it's the core. You should not be hard on yourself. Okay. Most businesses fail. 10% make it a year, 1% make it 10 years in any sort of industry. Mine's very competitive. I was just a classic romantic. I didn't care. I fell in love with Costa Rica, started a business, and next thing you know, I hit it. Should have never happened. But it's like the gym. There'll always be a guy that's weighing in at 250 that can put up like 400 pounds on the flat bench. That guy's, I can't even come close to somebody like that. But if I tell you what, after 4 months in a row of him seeing you showing up 5 days a week like him, you get the what's up because you're the regular, you're the guy that's committed. Obviously, some people are born with natural good looks and talent and a certain voice like James Earl Jones. Some people have to work on it. How about this? My last suggestion. I'm going to give you 3 people you need to study. And this is fun homework, not bad homework. Like when they brought in the VCR in class. Yeah, no test, and it's a movie. You should study Templeton Peck, the actor Dirk Benedict, when he was in the A-Team. Excellent rhetoric. Another one of my favorites was Pierce Brosnan when he was Remington Steele. Phenomenal show of delivery and composure. But my favorite of all time, Basil Rathbone, when he was with Nigel Bruce, did 17 Sherlock Holmes movies and dozens of old-time radio stuff. You want to study the master, listen to this guy. But you just can't sound like you're from, Queen's English and from England. It's going to sound out of place. But if you want to hear the most beautiful rhetoric, delivery, rebuttals, composure, this guy was on. And so where do you begin? That's where I began. I wanted to make it fun. So study the face man, have some fun, learn how to be smooth, and then transform that into your delivery and just go from there. But use your imagination, paint pictures. And if you do something like that, then you'll enjoy your work and it won't seem like a chore. But I can't thank you enough, Mark. I was hoping to share a lot of stuff with you and your audience today, and maybe I'll deliver.
Did I leave any? I think you did, definitely. You gave us a lot of suggestions, amazing amount of ideas, and even where to go continue. Is there any book that you recommend that could help people set up their sales processes like you're describing here, Richard?
I can't choose one of them. They'd all get mad at me. Maybe just choose why don't you choose a children's book to make you feel good, like The Giving Tree or something? I don't know. something that's easy to read, takes 10 minutes, puts you in a good frame of mind, and then write your script. I don't need to study Zig Ziglar. What are you kidding? Tony Robbins, they're incredible people. But I tell you what, self-help is internal, man. You should just go out and paint your own pictures and create your own beauty out there. You can't compare it to a Picasso. Be that person. And there's more princes in this world than kings, Marco. So you can't compete with the Stones. I'd rather just be in an excess band, it's
right.
Be content with where you are at. And if you're growing that way internally, things might seem a little bit different than what you're expected to do.
Wow. You've been amazing today. Appreciate, Richard, you coming on the show and giving a lot of us some insight on where to go and who to go watch and learn from. And so, folks, all of these links, we'll put them into the notes down below. Give us a like. If you like the content we brought you today, please like it, share it, ask us questions in the notes below, give us a review. Really appreciate everything, guys. And don't miss us on the next episode of the Marketing Boost Solutions podcast. See you soon. Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Boost Solutions Podcast with your hosts, Captain Marco Torres. Now it's on you. Take the next step now. Go to marketingboostsolutions.com for more on how you can wow, delight, and surprise your clients with the most amazing draw card on the planet. So stay thirsty, my friends. Stay thirsty for knowledge. See you next time.